Hello everybody and welcome to New York Kojak Transportation. This is my main spin-off channel of Diesel Elevators, which is my rail fanning channel that I've had going since about 2013. It's been a long time now that I think about it. While that channel will continue hosting all of my real-world content, mostly rail fanning, this channel is going to be hosting stuff like gaming and gaming reviews, mostly on railroad-related games, such as here, Railroader. This is the first episode of a series I'm starting on Railroader, Mod Reviews. Over the course of the foreseeable future, I will be reviewing mods for the Railroader game, including but not limited to locomotives, rolling stock, and potentially track. We are going to start with locomotives though. And what better one to start with than one of the original mods for a Railroader, the ALCO RS-1. I think this is a fitting starting locomotive for this series, not only because it is an older mod on Railroader, but because I am an ALCO-holic. And as an ALCO nut, I must have ALCOs on my railroad, and I do roster quite a few RS1s on the main New York Kojak Transportation save. The ALCO RS-1 is a perfect locomotive for a transition-era game because it started production in 1941, with a couple units even being built as late as 1960. To be honest, it's kind of a shocker we don't have an ALCO RS-1 in the base game, however this mod does a good job at adding it in for us. As far as Nexus is concerned, which is the main host website of Railroader mods nowadays, this mod was uploaded on the 5th of November in 2024 by greenninja 2404. Railroader has gone through a lot of updates since 2024, including an experimental and main branches being merged, and that actually broke several mods when it happened. So is this locomotive still functioning? Is it still relevant? And should you get this mod? We're going to answer all of those questions for you right here today. Before you come down and look at the details of this mod, always very important to look at these when you're considering getting a mod. You can see I actually got this one quite a while ago, 17th of March 2025. Look at the requirements. It requires the asset loader and the EMD GP38. The latest version you can get will be fine. You can also see there's a couple other mods that require this one, usually for liveries or for the trucks. There's of course the all-important permissions and credits tab. If a mod has these, you should at least take a glance, especially if you are a modder yourself. Make sure you know who to credit and what you can do with these mods, if anything. The change logs for this particular mod have absolutely nothing in them, and there is a donation button if you want to donate to the mod author. Basic details down here, not a whole lot to write home about. This mod does install with Unity Mod Manager, which is fantastic. This is a very great mod loader. Most rolling stock mods will use this for Railroader. I highly recommend having Unity Mod Manager, and if you are a modder, I recommend using it. It is a very great little system and makes managing your mods on your game very easy to do. They do also reiterate it requires the GP38 mod. The GP38 is a good mod to get, especially make sure you have the latest version. A lot of locomotives, especially those with custom sounds, require the GP38, as that mod has a script library that allows custom sounds and that sort of stuff to happen easily. So I do recommend getting that, even if you don't plan to use the GP38 itself. You can see it's a highly endorsed and highly downloaded mod as far as Railroader mods go, which makes sense, because it is a decent mod, spoiler alert, and it's been around quite some time. There's only one mod file to worry about here, and that is of course the main locomotive mod. This mod has not been updated since it was uploaded to Nexus. I do believe this mod was distributed elsewhere as it was around longer than that, at least I saw pictures of it before November. One thing to keep in mind is the posts and bugs tab of any mod that you want to get. You can see here there are a couple bugs posted, however, I will tell you that as of right now, none of these actually affect the locomotive running. Most of these are just people not knowing how to start the engine after a more recent GP38 update. I will show you how to do that in the game. It's not that difficult. And under the posts tab, you can see there are a lot of posts, mostly crediting the very nice model and making some requests. One thing to keep in mind, greenninja is not active on the posts or bugs tabs of this mod. So if you need support, you may need to find members of the community to give that to you in one of the Discord servers, usually the best place to find that. Greenninja himself will probably not step in here to talk to you. You can see that despite being from January and one from November, these bugs, which again don't really matter because it does work, these bugs have never been addressed by the author. Just as a pure curiosity, you can actually see that his last upload was 6 months ago. So he is definitely not currently active in the modding scene. You can see I have a couple of his EMD mods as well. Please do keep in mind, this can always change. Modders do all of this stuff mostly for free, except for ones that take commissions, and they do it on their own spare time for our enjoyment. So don't harass them too bad about not being active. They have every right to not be active. Just keep in mind, you might not get support with this mod from the author himself. Jumping on back in the game here, we're going to take a look at the model itself. Then we'll take it for a spin and see how it handles. As far as modeling goes, the mod is pretty decent. The mod does capture the essence of the ALCO RS-1 very well. There are not a lot of mesh issues. You can see a little bit of dark texturing in the corners there, but that's not bad at all. You don't even notice it from a distance. Not a big deal at all. The rest of the curves and everything else look pretty sharp. Not a lot of detail to talk about on the pilots. The trucks are pretty decent. They did a very good job at capturing the ALCO truck here. Not a whole lot of other underframe detail, but that's not too big of a deal. You can see the ALCO bronze bell here, looking pretty nice under the running board. Battery boxes on the side here, and the fuel tank here. For the fueling area, you can line it up pretty much anywhere in the round portion of the fuel tank. You don't have to have the nozzle perfectly on the gas cap, so nice little lenience there for putting diesel in this thing. Your rear truck, same as the front. This is a long hood locomotive, as many early ALCOs were. Coming around the backside, same pilot on the bottom here. Up on the hood, we can see the handbrake wheel, which has a little bit of weird white texturing thing going on the edges, but not too noticeable from a distance. It is animated. You can apply the handbrake and release it like so. Very nicely clickable as well. As far as customization options, if I pull up the menu here, not a whole lot to talk about. Again, it is an older mod. Customization was not a big thing yet when this mod was initially released. With the Legos, Logos, and Deco mod, you can change stuff like the font on the lettering and the font on the numbering. I like to do 1000 series for stuff like this. I'll do 1001. This is just a test save. This is not my main save. I do have a base color that I typically use for the Hojak, and I usually just have white lettering. I will mention these logos I slapped on there. I just didn't want to take them off for the purposes of the review. They're not really in the way of anything. Logos do not come on the Locomotive by default or anything. It's not like you can toggle those or anything. Those are just my little touch to the engine. You can, of course, like most default engines, do some kind of custom text for the lettering on the side of the engine. And that's basically it. I do have a mod that allows custom horns, so I have a couple things that I can do in here, but that doesn't come with the engine, of course. And that's it. Not a whole lot you can customize on here. If you want to do any kind of custom paint or stuff like that, you are probably going to have to do it in the editor yourself or find one of several paint mods that do exist. If we do a top-down view to look at the body a bit better here, you can see we do have class lights on the Locomotive. They're on each end. You have white, you have green, or you can leave them off. These are the standard base game class lights. And they are not changeable per end, so if you turn them on one end, you can see down there you get them on both ends, white, green on both ends, or off. As far as headlights go, we have the one singular headlight at the front and the back. That's your dim and your full. And we have the same in the rear, full and dim. We do have the sand filler hatches on both ends, and we do have 3D rivet detail down the entire body of the model, which looks rather sharp. Got the radiator fan up here, and some hatches on the roof so that you can access the engine block for maintenance. None of the hatches across the side of this engine open. You have the standard ALCO RS-1 offset exhaust stack here, which looks rather pleasant. And you have a 3-chime air horn on the roof. As you saw in the customization options, you cannot change that. You will always have a 3-chime horn. One thing I will say is the sun visors over the 2 windows do not change color with the rest of the body. They will always be this off gray. The exhaust stack is the same. I don't mind the exhaust stack not changing, although I will admit I do kind of wish the visors would change color just to match the body color a bit. If there were ever default customization options added, I would probably hope that that changes with the roof color. But of course, you can't do that on the base model. Let's go ahead and take a walk inside the engine. You do have ladders on all 4 sides, so you can climb up nicely without having to jump or do anything crazy like that. You can open the door on both sides. You can also open both side windows. All 3 seats in the cab have seats so that you can sit in them. When you sit in the engineer seat, you get a nice view out the front and a nice view out the back. No problem with visibility out of this locomotive. If I switch to company mode here, we can take a look at the locomotive in the purchase menu. We can see its statistics. We have 60,000 pounds of tractive effort. The factor of adhesion is 4.1, so pretty good adhesion on this locomotive. It says it's good for extra small curve radius. Your empty weight is set at 247,000 pounds. You have a capacity of 1,300 gallons of diesel fuel. With a decent train and a couple of these latched up, I can make that last several round trips between Silver and Andrews. It's pretty fuel efficient. You can buy these for the price of $34,000 brand new off of Atlantic Locomotive Works in your game, and you may get discounts as well if you run your railroad well in the game. Sitting in the cab, we have a couple manual controls here. The top button on the left will turn the bell on and off. None of these other buttons do anything. This lever here doesn't do anything. That would typically be your sander. We do have a reverser here, which you can drag forward and backward. Train brake is down here. You can drag that left and right, or forward and backward. You have the independent brake. Drag backward, push forward. Your throttle is up here on the left. Move that up to notch 8, down to notch 1 or idle. The only weird thing is the horn. So you have your horn up here in the front. However, I have to drag the horn up to sound it. It's definitely the hitbox for that, or the way it drags, the draggers are a little bit strange for the horn. So if you're running this in the cab, I would recommend just using the V key to run the horn. The custom horn file I have on here is one that I recorded and made myself. It does not have a quill feature, so I usually just press H, just a full blast. But you're definitely going to want to use the keyboard to quill this and drag your mouse. It's very oddly touchy on the in-cab control. You also have your speedometer down here, and you have your brake gauges as well, and those are functional. Now, if we want to get this locomotive moving, or any locomotive for that matter, which has the GP38 sound scripts, you're going to have to press the F11 key on your keyboard, and you'll get this little menu up in the top left. I just drug the camera down so that the menu is against the cab wall here. You can see it a bit better. The right-hand tab is locomotive stats. Not a whole lot that you can click in here, but you can see stats such as simulated amperage, engine RPMs, tractive effort, that sort of thing. Stuff that you might not normally be able to see. These are all 0. The engine is, of course, off right now. You have your light controls, so in here you do have manual toggles for your headlights, so we can turn on the front lights or the rear lights. And there are advanced light options for some other locomotives. This doesn't have those configured. We can look at that if we find a locomotive in the future that has those. I know the Jeeps do whenever we look at those. Locomotive controls, the middle tab, that's where you're going to want to go. You can control both cut levers from here. That is part of the GP38 scripts this engine uses. You can also control your VEED valve pressure if you would like. This is the important button. Engine start will turn the engine on. Now this one does have custom audio. There is no startup or shutdown sound, so you won't really hear anything when you first click this. It'll just kind of cut straight to the idle audio. With the engine now running, we do have proper ALCO 539T sounds on this, which is why it makes it one of my favorite basic mods to get, because I absolutely love ALCO engine blocks, and this does have a proper block for the prototype. So we're going to pull out of the shed here, take the independent brake off, put it in forward, blast of the horn, and we'll take it away. One thing you may notice, there is some jitteriness going around curves in the cab of this thing. Not sure where that comes from. Some other locomotive mods have it, although I will admit this is the worst case of it I have seen. Of course, with the mod author not being active anymore, not sure if that'll ever be fixed. But that does make riding in the cab a little bit annoying sometimes. So one thing that I do want to play for you is, let me go up to notch 4. I'm going to go to notch 5. So you hear the engine wind down before it throttles up. That is the engine simulating a transition. Now, it should only theoretically happen when you're moving, but here it's just built into the base audio files. We're going to look at some mods later on where that's built in a bit more realistically. But basically, the traction motors on the locomotive have to transition from series to parallel, basic electronic stuff. And that usually takes place between 20 and 25 miles per hour, although it varies greatly on which kind of locomotive you're running. But that's what that little throttle down and restart is trying to simulate. It sounds great and feels a lot better when you're moving. So you have a very good sound set on this locomotive, that's for sure. Get a nice view of the engine running here outside. It's a very nice looking model out on the track, that's for sure. So I have here 10 pulpwood cars, fully loaded. It's about 700 tons, give or take. And we're on level track in Bryson. We're going to see how she gets on with a small load like this. You can see she walks away pretty easily with them on level track. And if we want to come to a stop with just the independent, let's see how it stops it. She stops pretty damn good on level track. I find that the RS-1 is a perfect small light road switcher. It's great for switching cars around a yard, especially a level one, as well as hauling smaller trains between the eastern towns on that side of the map. Going down to milepost 50 here, between Barkers and Cowie, we can start the locomotive from a standing stop on a 1% grade uphill, and it can pull about 30 loaded pulpwood cars. That's approximately 2,000 tons. Again, starting from a standing stop on a 1% uphill grade. It's a bit slow about it, but it will manage that. That makes this a very, very good east side of the railroad locomotive. So Bryson and points east, this should have no problem hauling most anything you could throw at it, at least reasonably. And from a standing stop between Graham County and Nantahala, milepost 88, up a 4% grade, the red marble grade, she could start 8 cars pretty decently. That's just shy of 600 tons. So that's 8 loaded pulpwood cars up the red marble grade, which is 4%, starting from a standing stop. Definitely a better locomotive for the east side of your railroad, not much of a hill puller. So what do I think of the ALCO RS-1 by greenninja? Despite being an older mod, its basic form makes it fit perfectly along with the other base game locomotives, but it also has enough detail to match up to some of the more modern mods as well. I think it's a great light road switcher for the east side of the map. It works very well switching cars around yards and linking local services to area customers on that side of the map. Despite its age, nothing is broken. Everything works as intended. It has custom audio, which is a big plus for me. It also has class lights, which is a very nice added touch. And it is an ALCO, and if anybody knows me well, you can't beat an ALCO. I really wish we had more ALCOs in the game. So I highly recommend getting this mod if you'd like a light ALCO locomotive that you can use for your local and switching services. Just keep in mind that you may not see any updates anytime soon from the author, and you may need to go to the community for support with the mod. And of course, if you want to customize the engine in any way, shape, or form, it's going to only have to be with paint, and you're either going to have to do it yourself or find one of various paint mods that have been released for the locomotive. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. If you have any ideas that may make these reviews a bit better for your needs and a bit better to watch, please do let me know in the comments. This is the first one I've done. I do plan to do a lot more, and I will take any suggestions you can give me to try and make these a bit better for you. Hopefully I'll see you somewhere on the Hojack in the future, but in the meantime, take care everyone. Thanks for watching.